My only mission in life is get away from the Adamites and the black devil helpers messing with the white light. Other religion or wickedness don't need tarot cards. I'm looking karate in the thought. I stay on my lahaj, learning, speaking, and reading, and one day I'll teach it to those that want it and those that need it. The master teacher will be happy to see him, and he knows that we love him because we fight hard for his freedom. With love and unity, our shield is the key to the sanctuary of Yagman. Shamus Kawun Man. What does this mean? That means he has his own land, away from gossip and slander, ego tripping and power. When you need to be worried about the meteorite showers and them fireballs knocking down them walls. It's over, y'all. We want Babylon fall. In other words, get out the way. And when Baba comes home, we'll build our finger jam away. I visualize the master with diplomatic stats, flying back to Africa on a private jet, rocking a Rolex, holding doctrine classes, filled with laughter, teaching online, reaching the masses. It's a brand new day, it's a brand new chapter. We escape the gun clappers and the natural disasters, and those that mad at us, swearing black devil bastards that thought they had us. I've been dreaming, skinny, I'm leaving the lane of demons. Residual is needed. The master teacher gave us tools when he dropped those jewels. The reformer and the warner of this day in time. Just look around and pay attention, you'll see the signs. So what you gonna do when there's a food shortage and no source of income to be supported? Channel Ray was our safe zone. When the master come home, we'll have a new home.
Roll back. Greetings, yes, sir. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Wu-Sabat. Okay. Greetings, Yasar. Greetings. Let's see. We are going to get started real quick. We have a lot to cover. Real quick. All right, real quick. For those who do not know me, my name is Peti Sina Teptu Roye, and I have been over a 30-year student teacher of the profound doctrine of the master teacher, known to us as Panabab Yananan, also known as Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, who has been teaching us our ancient culture. We identify as Wu-Sabat, also known as Wu-Nawab. And our culture, Wu-Sabat, Wu-Nawab, stands for those who make decisions based on sound, right reasonability, based on the principles of Ma'at, based on the wisdom of the Hutui. In essence, our ancestors made decisions in being in harmony with natural nature. And we argue that the challenges that Black people are suffering from around the world is because we got away from our ancient culture of living in harmony with natural nature. We have been living in disharmony with nature for the past 6,000 years, and it is the root cause of our suffering, is what we argue. In fact, now we live in Western culture who has no attachment to nature whatsoever. The culture of capitalism, in essence, is destroying nature, and so we argue that's why we're suffering, due to the fact that we're living foreign cultures. And we teach that the solution to our problems is getting back to the cultures that our ancestors lived as Sabians, as Nawapians. It was a very advanced and high culture. And those who study ancient Kemet could see that in Africa, we had a very advanced culture, and we got away from it. We lost the science of it. And we're now, in this day and time, are re-educating our people that the solution to our problems is getting back to the culture that worked for us to develop us as a divine people. And so, me being a student of Wu-Sabat, have dedicated my life, like many other students, to re-educating Black people all over the globe. And this information is taught to us by the master teacher, Dr. Malakazi K. York, also known as Panabab Yanana, who has dedicated his life for over 50 years trying to re-educate us in regards to our divine culture. And this is what we're obligated to. So we challenge everybody to definitely take the time out to watch all our lectures and discussions, to get our books, to read our doctrine, and you will see for yourself that we're the ones with the facts. We're the ones who are actually teaching the actual facts about who we are as a people and why we should be doing certain things, and why we should not be doing certain things. And one of the things that we teach is knowledge. Those who have knowledge will always rule those who are ignorant. And we are in our predicament because of a lack of knowledge, a supreme, profound level of ignorance. And the only way to balance that out is to re-educate ourselves. And we say you must re-educate yourself with the right knowledge. And we're the only ones that teach the right knowledge. And this is what we're dedicated to. So with that being said, we start all of our discussions with our prayer system, right? Because one of the things that we argue, that Black people are suffering from two issues for the last 6,000 years, which is their racial blindness, our division, right? And our spiritual ignorance. And so part of our education is being re-educated spiritually. So we do our prayer systems. We have a chanting systems. We have a meditation systems, all for the purpose of re-educating us spiritually, okay? And we do our prayer systems in our language, which is Sabian. And for those who are able to follow us, you can see we have the English translation there. But it's also important to do prayers in our language, which is Lahaj, for the purpose of tones. The key is tones. That's why we stress the speaking in our language as opposed to English. English actually is a language with no tones, and speaking in tones is extremely important. In fact, we'll get into that type of discussion in later lectures. But for the time being, we're going to start with our prayer system, and then we're going to move on. Okay. Abdul-Kalam Namasat, Wubazun, the man, Kasam, a far pa paut. Anuki Jawaf pa Ashuk M pa paut. Wu Kala Ashuk Kawun Jawaf Naya. Anuki Kasamun M pa paut. Wu pa paut Kawun Kasamun M Naya. Anuki Wahu Ama pa paut. Wu pa paut Kawun Wahu Ama Naya. Naku Kodor Naju Amar Kasamun M pa paut. Wu Khabuk Amar Shikasun. Naku Kodor Kawan Kala Pafap Naku Daya Jawaf pa paut. Ama wasu ama doyani kuun lake baku jawab pa paut. Anuki yababi nafasni. Pa put kawun. Anuki. Pa put kador. Naku kador. Pa put amu. Naku amu. Lahehum manehnun. Layahum manehnun. Ahum after karahum. Ahum after karakum. Ahum after karanun. Ahum after jawafnaya. Ahum after Nayawu Anuki hum. Ye ashuk re'e. Asmua jaye nun. Ye unataru afuk nun. Anun at the khara ukum. Ye unataru afuk nun. Akfuk nun. Ye unataru nun. Nun. Tun. Tun. Namazo Wahu, Ye Umafaku, Yehu, Ye Unataru, Yesaye, Ye Unataru, Yehika, Ye Unataru, Antkum at the Pa Mafaku, Yehu, Ye Unataru, Antkum at the Pa Mafaku, Wu Anu at the Kharaukum, Wu Ankum at the Yasanun, Yehu, Ye Unataru, Akfush Muklas Nun, Atum Ra'e, Yehu, Ye unataru, Namazo atu, Akfush enhu, Ye muktamu, Akfutnun, Enkum, Mana yakal duda salafunun, Wu yasa unun, Mana yakal sawura pa ba'ah, Mana yakal kawuna ka'u, Mana yakal ata akha, Mana yakal kawuna bashawu damam, Ye unataru muktam unun, Akfush muftadnun, Anhu kawun munzal mana pa nataru, Akfush anhu kawun baba yananun, Akfush anhu kawun atum re'e, Akfush anhu kawun khafush. Namazo talu, Ye nataru salafunun, Akfut nun mana pa mujwa'u, Akfut nun mana tag huwan, Ye nataru afut nun, Mana saya khayara, Akfut nun afut naya, Akfut naya. Ye notaru nun. Namazo rabu pa tashun. Nakuk talub tashun bi pa notaru. Mana pa la en lawi tananu. Kala ranum atni at the lahe pa notaru. Wu kala namazo atni at the lahe kayat yatun laye pa notaru. Pa sawat wu pa tara. Panan safa kawun pa sawat wu pa tara. Z kawuna nazula laha ankum, mana saba'at Wu-Sabat, ama haday anun Wu-Shafa'un, mana salafukum Wu-Nataru, ajul laya nafasukum, afuk shana kawunkum, pa sawa Wu-Pa tara, pa haday an Wu-Pa Shafay, an nun tawa ankum, laha panan Shafay Wu-Alaj, an nun tawa ankum laha tim nasuinun, an nun tawa ankum laha ashukuma, Ankum at the salafanun, Anun at the khara'ukum, Anun talub nasakuma, Anun talub nasakuma, and so nun sayum nataru, and so nun salafanun, Anun at the munwapo, Anun, Atun, Atun, Ye nataru nun, ye muftau, ye nataru, ye atum re, ye natar, ye nun, ye natar, ye nutat, ye natata, ye ha, ye natar, ye hatat, ye natata, ye kak, ye natar, ye kaktat, ye natata, ye mun, ye natar, ye muntat, ye natata, ye umuf camel ye nataru, ye atum, ye natar, ye shawah, ye natar, ye tafaf natat, ye natata, ye sabab, ye natar, ye natat, ye natata, ye astat, ye natata, ye asar yanatar, ye nabab tahata yanatata, ye satak yanatar, ye hara yanatar. Natar shalil pameye, ye haptu yanatar, ye nakta yanatata, ye ha haratu yanatar. Natar shalil panawar, ye nafatum yanatar, ye mantu yanatar, ye babtu yanatar, ye sakhamta yanatata, ye hata harata yanatata. Ye ba ibish yanatar, ye fa yanatar, ye basa yanatata, ye imhata yanatar. Natar shalil pa hawe, ye enhu yanatar, ye matat yanatata. Ye mahat yanatata, ye khafre yanata, ye miskanya, ye miskhanat, khadnat yanatata, ye rayeta yanatata, ye khintimiti yanata, ye hika yanatata, ye natata yanatata, ye maat yanatata, ye renanta yanatata, ye she yanatata, ye sasha yanatata, ye mafta yanatata, natara shilil pataha, ye sabak yanata, ye nap yanata, ye khnum yanata, ye khanash yanata, ye fanun yanata, ye saye yanata, ye haktat yanatata, ye amash yanata, ye surabtu yanata, ye atum re yanatata, ye dahutu yanata, ye fawarat yanatata, ye sakata yanatata, ya ha yanata, ya naheb ka'a yanata, ya saka yanata, ya ba'a yanata, ya aka yanata, ya imharat ta yanata ta, ya wapawa ta yanata, ya sakha hatap ta yanata ta, ya mari ta saka ta yanata ta, ya sayed ta yanata ta, ya garata yanata ta, ya sa'inu yanata, ya bahata yanata ta, ya khnam ta yanata ta, ya manakta yanata, ya khamam yanata, ya mahatu yanata, ya kabab sanan afaf yanata, ya da mata afaf yanata, ya merita yanata, ya nasa yanata, ya mdata yanata, ya nakhakwata yanata, ya sakhata yanata, ya nakta yanata, ya dada yanata, ya tum yanata, ya wahu yanata, ya yasach yanata, ya naku yanata, ya afnu yanata, ya sata yanata, ya sakhatu yanata, ya ma'a yanata, ya nana yanata, ya mnuet yanata, ya msataktu yanata, ya mukdalta yanata, ya rahashafaf yanata, ya maratu yanata, ya mun re'e yanata, Yehu Anun Ata Jawaf Paut Ahnun Re'e Ahtun Re'e Ahtun Re'e Ahmun Re'e Jennifer. Okay. All right. For those who are new to our prayer systems and our chanting, again, it's about spiritual development. It's about recalibrating yourself. When you go through the prayer system, especially when you speaking in our lahaj, our language, it's about recalibrating yourself, right? It's about correcting your genetics. In fact, for those who do not know, Wu-Sabat is a genetic doctrine. Again, I repeat, Wu-Sabat is a genetic doctrine. I repeat, Wu-Sabat is a genetic doctrine. It's about it's about correcting our genetics. And that because our genetics got corrupted over 6,000 years ago, that is what cut us off from our connection to natural nature. Okay. And that's why we're in our chaotic state, because we've gotten disconnected. We used to be in harmony with the forces of nature. We used to be in harmony with the planet Earth itself. And we had abilities, and we've lost all of our abilities, and it reduced our intelligence. The further our genetics got corrupted and messed up, it disconnected us. And unfortunately, we're living in cultures today that's teaching us to corrupt our genetics more and more. And it is very important that we understand that we must fix our genetics, or we can't solve none of our problems. And you fix your genetics through the rituals, through the prayers, through the chant, through the meditation, through the concentration exercises. This is how you correct your genetics. Okay, guys? And we have the ability to do it. And that's what we're trying to educate everybody on, how to do these things. Okay? And so I hope that definitely helps with that. So now, let's see. We're going to get started. We'll go up there. Move into our core principles of Wu-Sabat / Wu-Nawab that we go through every week. It's important that you guys understand the principles that we live by, right? And being a Sabian, and for those who are new or watching this, it's important that you understand this as well, right? So principle number one is Ashak, and that is a Sabian word, and it stands for the power of love. Our whole doctrine is based on being in harmony with the forces of Ashak. And Ashak itself is the creative force that grew the universe, that grew existence. And those forces are non-ether forces, and non-ether forces are the forces of Ashak. And so the goal of a Sabian is to tap into this force through concentration exercises and through meditation exercises. You tap into the spirit force. And that's what gives us our strength, our power, and our ability to conquer the adverse forces that we are at war with. Okay, principle number two is resurrection. Our goal is to restore ourselves. So when I said you got to correct your genetics, that's about resurrecting, restoring yourself back into goddesses and gods. And as you do that, you reopen your third eye, which will give you the ability to see interdimensionally to communicate with your ancestors. Okay. And we've done discussions on that. And principle number three is the wisdom of Dahutri and Ma'at. Dahutri stands for our divine mind, and Ma'at stands for universal order that we live by. Okay. Principle number four is relationships. As African people, we always live of, for, and by each other as a community. And we must get back to that and get away from the Western culture concepts of living. Principle number five is morphic resonance / matrix. Morphic resonance is about sound, color, vibration, frequencies. It is the frequencies that the universe is grown from that produces matrix, which are the material objects. Animated objects and inanimate objects are made up of matrices. Okay. And principle number six is soul and spirit. Your soul is your emotional force, and your spirit is your life force. We did lectures on that, so definitely watch those lectures. Number seven is Leviathan, which is moon culture, aka religion, aka Western culture, right? And that's who we're at war with. We're fighting the spirit forces of Leviathan. And principle number eight is health. For Sabian, you must develop your health, right? And the key to health is positive mind, sunlight. All right. We're melanated people. We need a lot of sunlight to charge our bodies. Water, 70% of our body is water. So we need water to sustain ourselves. Fasting is key. Fasting at least 1 to 2 times out of the week. Herbal diet, the doctors say we diet. Exercise is extremely key. Rhythmic breathing, meditation, concentration, prayers, and chanting. Okay, so health is not just physical, but is also spiritual. Complete health is physical and spiritual. Remember that, guys. And principle number 9 is Pa'ut, which is existence, right? And so we don't use words like God and Jehovah and Allah. It existed. The creative force is Pa'ut. Okay, and Pa'ut is based on the SMAT circle, which stands for space, matter, and time. It's explaining that existence is based on cycles. And existence, the energies that grew existence is Ach, and they translate to ether. Okay, and the 2 ruling forces of ether is non-ether and 6 ether. So that's important. And now, for those who choose to become Sabians, to be a Sabian, you have 3 primary goals, right? The goals of a Sabian is, number 1 is to raise the self. Number 2 is to fight Leviathan. And number 3 is to work to build Sabbatia. Okay. Now we can go to goal number 1 to raise yourself. The first thing is you must become born again, like the Christians teach, by learning the culture of Wu-Sabat and to live it, right? So you give up your old culture for the new culture. That's what being born again. You're starting as a baby, re-educating yourself, guys, right? In this new culture. And in that journey, one of your first goals is, 1, to correct your name, right? To choose the Sabian name, make it known to all. The other thing is you must correct how you look and dress. That's an important thing, getting back to African dress. You must learn to speak the language Sabian. That's extremely important. You must study our doctrine every day, guys, and because our doctrine was educating about the non-mind to develop right knowledge again, okay? And you must practice and master our daily rituals. That's how you open up your third eye, and you must always be positive, guys. There's nothing going to get done without staying in the positive mind. So that's extremely important. Number 2 is to fight Leviathan. We are at war with the spirit forces of Leviathan, guys. And that includes working to free the master teacher, Panda Babinana, who's been kidnapped. And they put him in their prison system. He's been there for over 19 years now. It's really yucky. And also in fighting Leviathan is promoting Wu-Sabat, right? To educate our people about our culture. To become a student teacher. This is one of your goals, or should be your goal. And a fight, and I updated this, guys, to fight the 6 strongest weapons of Leviathan. I had it 5 before, and I made corrections. It should really be 6 because the Leviathan represents 6. And first of all, the one of the most powerful forces of Leviathan is ignorance. Leviathan rules based on ignorance, right? Those who are ignorant will always be ruled by those who have knowledge. Remember that. The other thing that Leviathan feeds off is fear, lust, lies, slander, and gossip. And if you notice, the Western world media system is based on all of these principles, and that's how they seduce the public, by spreading these principles. Okay, and we're at war with those things. So, and principle number 3 is the work to build Sabbatia. We work to support each other in business. We help each other reach positive goals. We help to build our culture. We must set up a landing zone for Panathato in Africa, which means we need land in Africa that would be supported by an African government. And a shack is the key to accomplish all our goals. Next, what does it mean to be a Sabaean? One, a Sabaean is someone who is thoughtful and cares, someone who is helpful and honest, someone who is responsible and hardworking, someone who demands justice, someone who is righteous, someone who is positive and cheerful, someone who is loving and peaceful, someone who is clean, someone who is kind and considerate. And guys, I added again our purpose. What is your purpose? This is very important, especially from our discussions the other week. And it's made me realize I need to make this clear. It's very important you guys are clear about the purpose of a Sabaean. And that your ultimate purpose is to fight adverse forces. We are at war with 6 ether. As 9 ether, children of 9 ether, we at war with our opposite, which is 6 ether forces, and their children, which is the ghost forces. Okay. So your ultimate goal is to liberate yourself from 6 ether. So when I have here, number 1, you must take action each and every day to free yourself of 6 ether spirits inside and out, which includes Black people who are possessed by these spirit forces. Our people are seduced by 6 ether, guys. So we're unfortunately at war with them too. That's why we're trying to re-educate them. And number 2, acknowledge and fight 6 ether from promoting capitalism, right? The gay agenda, miscegenation, and so-called equality of the races. Now, acknowledge and fight 6 ether from promoting. Now, they promote capitalism, which has been killing us, okay? And now they got this whole thing with this gay agenda that they're confusing our people, making them think there's no such thing as gender. They're trying to educate children, to teach children there's no such thing as gender. Gender is a principle of natural nature. There's male and female species within natural nature. The male species has a principle and a nature, and the female species has a principle and a nature. And they're trying to confuse that, guys. And it's important that you put that in check and re-educate our people about that. And miscegenation is about the mixing of the races, guys. We must stop destroying our genetics, our bloodline, by mixing in. Okay. And the so-called equality of the races. Again, each race must live according to their race. So, those are discussions all to itself. And then number 3 is learn, live by, and promote the 19 laws or rules of natural nature, starting with the first rule, which is the preservation of self and kind. So you guys, and I got to get that out to you guys so you guys are familiar with 19 laws and rules of natural nature that has a profound effect on your life, your everyday life. It is important that you learn these things and you apply it to yourself. You make it a part of your essence. So this is your purpose. So I don't want anyone to be confused about what our purpose, our day-to-day behavior is supposed to be in our culture of Wu-Sabat, what we're up against, what we're supposed to be dealing with. Because again, we're being ruled by adverse forces. We're being ruled by people who are ruling us, who are not in our best interest. And we have to work each and every day to get away from that, And so that's extremely important, guys. Okay, so now if you guys notice that I'm doing a part 2, because last week we talked about the 9-ball series, and I did not finish. It was so much that I needed to get to, and trying to balance between the information I'm trying to get out to you guys and answering you guys' question. We ran out of time, so we have a part 2 today, because it is important that you guys, and I reiterate, not just rewatch these lectures and study them, but also read the books, the 9-ball books. Study that information along with reading it, because all of these things are designed to help you in your decision-making abilities. Again, remember, Wu-Sabat is about making decisions based on sound right reasoning. Well, you have to have the right knowledge in order to make sound reasoning decisions. And so our goal is teaching you that right knowledge and giving you access to the right knowledge, which is what our doctrine is all about. This is why the master teacher spent the last 50 years teaching us right knowledge so that we can correct our decisions. Okay. And so it is so important that we understand this. And so this is why we are revisiting this subject, or not revisiting, but we're continuing this subject, okay, of the 9-ball series. That I can't stress that enough, that it's important, imperative that you guys learn this. Okay. Huh? Okay, questions. Let's see. What did they ask? What? All right, hold on. Let's see. Question. Let me check out. Okay, Zamal question. I met a guy, and he said the master teacher, Yanun Mikhail, isn't in prison. The person in prison is a clone named Dwight York. He said Yanun is on the mothership. What you think? Okay, I've heard people say that. That's weird. That's not facts. I don't know where they're getting that from. I don't know where they're getting. That's not facts, guys. People have been talking to the master teacher through conference calls. Now, it is true. People have not been seeing. They've cut off his visitation. They haven't been able to visit the master teacher, and so that's been a problem. So that's what creates these types of rumors. And there's a lot of issues going on with our organization, and when it comes to trying to help the master teacher in his situation, and and so we do need a lot of help when it comes to that. We really do, because it's one of the reasons why I did the discussion on his case. I do ask you guys, you should really listen to that lecture and really understand the particulars of his case to help, because a lot of people do not understand his situation, his case. And I've had a hard time trying to explain it, because a lot of people are having a hard time understanding it. And the more people I can educate about his particulars of his case, this will help get him free. Actually, if you study what I put out there, you will see that in that information I put out there is the key to get him free. But a lot of people who are working on his case, including his lawyers, do not really understand. And so you guys really should take the time out and study that information, guys, because the more of us who understand it, the better it is going to be for the master teacher to help him. Okay. So I stress that. Let's see. I suggest a separate video of just 2 prayers. First, speed, and then a regular speed would be useful to help us learn then I pronounce. Yeah, I forget my man, Capre. That's what's up. Capre, no, you're right. We do need we do need, it's so much information I got to get out there to you guys, and I wish there was more of me to just do classes on language, do classes on spiritual classes, because there's things that, like, how to do the prayers, right? We actually have a prayer system that you guys should be doing. It's not just saying the prayers, it's actual ritual, the rituals. The master teacher had put out the books to show the rituals on how to do the prayer system. I wish I had time to show you guys that. I've been planning to just make a video and have someone record me on how to do the positions, how to say the different prayers, to go through the whole process, because it is important that you guys be knowledgeable about that. So hopefully, as I can get more assistance, right, we can get this stuff out, and so I'm trying. Let's see, Pop, to explain how we got to the state we're in. Okay, so what's up? Greetings. Question: where is the master teacher incarcerated? Okay, T Tiger question: where is the master teacher incarcerated? Excellent question. The master teacher is in Colorado, and he's in a prison called the 80 Max Prison. 80 Max Prison in Colorado. It's the most secure prison in this country. They put him in the most secure prison in the country, underground. The prison is underground, and they put him in there with the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst. And it's insane. But they want to stop the teachings of 9 Ether. And so that's what I'm saying. We're at war with 6 Ether, and they know we're the only ones out there trying to change, fight that type of battle. And this is why they did that to the master teacher. So it's a fight. It's a fight, and it's sad. But yes, he's in Colorado is the prison. That's where the prison located, and he's underground, and the prison's called 80 Max Prison. You can look it up on YouTube, actually. Okay, so I'm going to get started. Like I said, so I want to continue with this discussion about the 9-ball series, because you guys, I can't stress this enough. Keep in mind, the master teacher was trying to teach this information 50 years ago. Okay, 50 years ago. So that lets you know how far behind we are. That we're trying to learn something we're supposed to learn 50 years ago. It's pretty yucky, but that's our situation that we're all in. We're all in this together, and so we're going to do our best to get ourselves out of it, because guys, the master teacher only has 60 years to teach. He was only given a 60-year timeline for the most part. Okay. He could extend his timeline up to 100 years. He told us, but the fact that we let that demon capture him and mess with our timeline. But he was supposed to resurrect us within. Well, actually, we were supposed to be resurrected in the first 30 years of his teaching. He was supposed to raise 144,000 in the first 30 years. Obviously, that didn't happen. And so he got an additional 60 years to raise 144,000. This is why it's so important. You guys are supposed to be working to resurrect. Okay? I can't stress it enough. We are at war. We are at war. And this war is a galactic war we're fighting. It sounds like Star Wars and sci-fi, but it's real. What you see on Star Wars is really real. What you see in the Avengers, that's really what we're dealing with. And I'm going to help you guys see the reality of it as we go through these discussions. You guys will have all the facts, what this planet is really about. Let's see. Another question. Let's see. T-Tiger question. And you say these special beings come every 10 years to receive the one that are ready. Do you know any of your students you left with 9 Ether? Oh, that's okay. I think I know what you're saying. Good question. Okay, so every 10 years there's a vortex opening, right, guys? Every 10 years there's a vortex opens. This vortex was opening and started in 1943 when they the Mukasu did an experiment. They did an experiment in 1943. It's, the Philadelphia experiment. Guys, look that up. They did a movie on it. The Philadelphia experiment. When they did the Philadelphia experiment, they was trying to make a battleship turn invisible, and instead they made the darn battleship transport itself 40 years into the future. They did a movie about it. They tried to cover it up. And they say it's fiction, but it's actually a real event, as the master teacher explained to us. And when they did that, that project, the Philadelphia experiment, it opened up a vortex, and this vortex opens up every year. So ETs are able to travel through these vortexes, and the masters, they use that vortex open, and they come to this dimension every 10 years to check on us. And they give the master teacher an update. So every 10 years, the master teacher is communicating with them when they come through the vortex. And when they come to the vortex, they come to see who's ready. And we were supposed to have been ready in 2003. That was one of the reasons why the disagreeable ones locked the master teacher up in 2002. Okay, because the master, that he had 30 years to try to raise us up where we were able to resurrect to that point, but no one was ready in 2003. Obviously, the next vortex opened up in 2013, and to my knowledge, no one was ready then. And as you already know, we're in 2021, and the next vortex opens up in 2 years, less than 2 years, right? In 2023. And unfortunately, it looks like, again, a lot of people are not going to be ready, because most people are not doing they're not doing the rituals. They're not doing the spiritual rituals to develop themselves spiritually. Guys, that's so important. They're not doing the rituals. Okay. And there's no way you can go into the dimensions where the masters are if you don't raise your vibration to a certain level. You can't exist in their realms. That's why they sent the master to educate us. So, that's real important. So again, to my knowledge, no one has been taken. To my knowledge, no one has been taken. There are people that have been taken, but those people have been taken because they transitioned. Okay, they physically died, and their spirits were able to resurrect, and the master supposed had got them. So the master teacher did tell us that there are students who are with the masters because they transition. Okay, but we all of us are still physically alive, and so we physically have to resurrect, because ain't nobody trying to, we got to physically resurrect, guys, in order for us to get it. And we have up into the 2030. The master teacher had taught us 2030 is our timeline. So that's important. That's one of the reasons why it was so important to get the master teacher out, and that's why he set up the land. Right? Because on the land, we have all types of rituals on the land designed to help people resurrect, to develop themselves. And that's why they took that land from us. That's what his case was about. They wanted to take the land from us. They destroyed all our rituals. Yeah, the UFO, this whole planet, guys, just so you know, this whole planet is ran by ETs. This planet is ran by ETs, guys. You guys got to do some research on a secret government. I repeat, you guys have to do some research on a secret government. The secret government is being ruled by ETs, and the secret government is the ones who control the world governments. Okay. They call the secret government, they call them the cabal. They have all kinds of names for them. The Illuminati, whatever you want to call them. They're the secret government, and their overlords are ETs. Okay. And they've been They've been dealing with their ETs for the last 6,000 years. They've been, messing with this planet, and they conquered this. So that we're gonna get into those discussions, guys. But you guys need to. I will say, guys, I did that lecture on UFOs. You guys, it's like a 4-hour. It's a long lecture, but you guys really need to watch that lecture I did. It's very detailed. It's very good, I think. And it's very informative. Take your time, watch that discussion, because that's one of the reasons why I did it, to educate you guys about the UFO phenomenon. So definitely take the time out to watch that discussion I did. Okay. Okay, T Tiger asked me, am I ready? No, it's sad. I'm very close. I'm extremely close. Am I ready for 2023? My anticipation is to be ready for 2023, and I'm hoping I can get you guys ready, at least some of y'all. But yes, I'm extremely, extremely close, and my anticipation is hopefully to get you guys ready. The first thing in getting ready that you guys have to get to this point, which is you have to become aware of the energy field. Now we're getting off my we're getting off. I'll address this. You guys got to become aware of the energy field that's around your body and inside your body. Your body emits a magnetic field. The human body emits a magnetic field. It's called your aura. They call it your aura, and really what it is your magnetic field. Okay, and it's in this magnetic energy is flowing inside your body, and it flows around your body. Okay, so the first step towards resurrection, opening up your third eye, is you have to become familiar with your own magnetic field that surrounds your body. You have to be aware of it. Once you learn how to be aware of your own personal magnetic field, then you can become aware of the magnetic field that's around you in the atmosphere, because the whole planet emits this magnetic field. It's of a different frequency. Okay. So this is the first step towards resurrection. Now I made that step. I'm well aware of my magnetic field that's around me and all inside, and how to manipulate it. But it has to be developed to a high degree. And so you guys first have to become familiar with it. Now, if the master teacher put out a book, and we put out a book called "Is There Life After Death?" Hold on, let me see if I think I have it. And in that particular book, he explains this in detail. Okay, in that particular book, the master teacher explains this field, and it's a magnetic field, and it surrounds the body. It's all around the body. Okay, and you have to become aware of this magnetic field. So that's step one. Step two, the human body. Okay, the way the human body works is you're drawing in energy and you're releasing energy. You're drawing in energy and you're releasing energy. Now, the human body is polarized to draw in energy, to release energy, You're polarized to release energy, and that's called a negative polarity. You're polarized to release energy, which is called a negative polarity. So, for instance, when you wake up after sleep, right, you're moving throughout the day, and your body is releasing energy all day throughout the day until you get tired, and then you have to go to sleep again so your cells can recharge. Okay. We spend most of our time all day releasing energy, and we don't know how to harness energy. You have to learn how to harness what they call sachem. It's life force energy into the body, and that strengthens your magnetic field. And you do that through the rituals. You do it through meditation. You do it through concentration exercises. You do it through the chants. That's how you harness this energy we call sachem. And you have to harness it to activate your arusha or your chakras. Now, as Black people, we have 9 energy centers or chakras. Okay, because I know a lot of people are familiar with the Hindus and they talk about it, but they have 7, we have 9. So it's important. You have to learn how to activate them. And that's what I'm trying to get to, that point, okay, where you can turn them all on. You have to activate all of your energy centers. I've been able to activate several of them, but not all of them. You have to activate all of your energy centers. When they all line up, when you're able to activate all of your energy centers, they all will line up, and your body will get flooded with this energy. And you'll feel it. You'll feel a transformation take place. Okay. Let me find. Hold on. I'm trying to find where that book is. I just want. I want to. Uh, I want to say it again. That's what they asked. Oh, okay. Hold on. Hold on. Let me see what you guys are saying. T-type question. Okay. Are you here now? Deposits. Okay. Question, Allison. Let's see. Is that what the electricity feeling I get? Sometimes I feel it more in the evening or when I'm around high vibrational beings or planets. Did you do a video talking about this? Okay. It is an electrical energy, right? It's a higher form of electrical energy. When you tap this, how do I explain this? That you guys will understand. I don't know whether or not how do I explain this? I don't know if I would call it an electrical energy. It's more or less like a force. Like if you guys ever played with magnets before, now if you notice when you put the magnets in opposite polarities, they will attract to each other, right? Now, if you turn the magnet around and put it in and try to bring it together in the same polarity, those magnets will repel and you'll feel a force trying to repel it away. Okay. And that force that you're trying to repel it away, that's the force you'll feel in your body once you become in tune with it. That's the best way for me to explain it. All right. So if you guys are familiar with magnets and how magnets will repel each other, that's kind of what you would feel or notice and in your body. You'll feel that repellent force, so to speak. Now, this book right here, guys, this book right here goes literally. This is an excellent book. This book came out like in 2000. Okay. This book is very detailed about how to open your third eye. Okay. And how to tap into this magnetic field. It's extremely detailed. It goes into the concept of being able to do this. Unfortunately, I only have parts of it. I would have showed you the sections of this book. This is a book that you should master and study. Like read this. I don't know how many times I read this book. I almost read it like every other day. I'm constantly studying it. Okay. Because this book, it goes into those concepts, and so it goes into the concepts that I'm telling you, well, this book is, actually it's a couple books. It's more than just this book, but this book is very, very, very important. It's one of the books. Let me see. There's another book, this book right here. Let me bring it up for you guys. This book is called The Materialization Right. This particular book, the master teacher put this book out. This also came out like in 2000. This book is totally dedicated to teaching you how to become one with your oversoul. This book is dedicated to teaching you how to become one with your oversoul. The whole book is about explaining how to do it. All of the rituals that you need to know, the chants that you need to know. For instance, the fact that I chant the word Om or Amun, right? That's where I got it from. This book right here explains how to do that chant, which is Amun. Now, some people chant Om, but we chant Amun. You can chant Om if you want. Okay. All right. And so the whole book is making contact with your oversoul, and you call your oversoul Amun because it means the hidden one. And for females, it's Amun Tat. So for a male, you chant Amun, right? and you're trying to communicate with Amun, the hidden one, the higher spiritual you that's hidden from you, because you have to raise your vibration to make contact with your oversoul. All right. And for a female is Amuntat. And that's what the female focuses on, Amuntat. That's the female counterpart that you're trying to communicate with your higher self. And like I said, this particular book is dedicated to explaining exactly how to do that. Okay. This book is, and this book was a ritual. If you see in this picture right here, this was a ritual that we set up on the land that was dedicated to teaching people on how to make contact with their oversoul. It's through doing meditation and concentration exercises. You have to master meditation and concentration exercises. It's extremely important. Now, this is one of the chants that that you learn to do. So it's Aum Atum, An Atun, An Amun, and then An Amun, An Atun, Aum Atun, Aum. Then you go Amun, and then you go Moon, Amun, and you start again. Om Atun, An Atun, An Amun, An Amun, An Atun, Atun. And as you go through that process, you can do that 3 times, and then you just get it. If you look at the bottom of the paragraph right here, and just go Amun, and you keep chanting Amun. Now, we're supposed to be doing this as a group, guys, because the more people that's doing these chants, okay, it's actually easy to raise your vibration. Now, the master used to do chant rituals with us and they're extremely powerful. And you feel your energies rising. The more people that do it, provided they have to be in the right mind, guys. You can't do chants unless you're in extremely positive mind. I have to repeat that. You can't do no spiritual work unless you're in extremely positive mind. Because if you're not in extremely positive mind, you will call 6 ether forces to you. And you can and will get possessed. That's why you never, ever, ever do any kind of rituals in a negative mind. I repeat, you never, ever, ever do any kind of rituals in a negative mind, because then you'll open yourself up to 6 ether forces and you will get possessed, and people have gotten possessed, and it has been the end of them. So this is very delicate, guys. I repeat, it's very delicate when you're dealing with spirituality. You must be in the right mind. You must be pure. You must be clean. And we have rituals for cleaning and purity before you even get into doing actual rituals. Okay? So I have to stress those things to you guys. Okay, question. Question was asked, where are the other 2 chakras? Okay, the 9 chakras. I will show you guys the 9 chakras so that you guys will know that. Yeah, should know that. What are the 9 chakras? So hold on for a second. We have a book that we had put out that breaks down all of the we call the chakras Arushat. It means the seats, spiritual seats, Arushat. Let's see. All right. So now this book right here, we put this book out. And so here's how the 9, if you look right here, the 9 principles in human beings. Okay. You have 9 energy centers. And this is only for Nagato, for black people. We have 9. Everybody else have 7. Mukasu actually have 6, to be honest with you. But okay, so we have 9. So the 9th seat is your crown. Okay. Your crown. That's the 9th seat. All right. Your 9th energy center is your crown. All right. And then the number 8 is the which I call the third eye. Is right here. The third eye is number 8. Okay. The third eye is number 8, right in the forehead. Hold on. Let me put up the video so y'all can see me better. I want you to see this. So this is number 9, the crown. This is number 8, the center of your forehead. Number 8. Your nose, number 7. This is what they don't know about. This is your the mirror. Your nose is number 7. Number 7, energy center. Number 6, your throat. Number 6, your throat. Number 6, your throat. Okay. Number 5, your heart. Number 5 is your heart center. Number 5 is your heart. Okay. Number 4 is just above your navel where your solar plex is. Number 4 is just above the navel is where your solar plex is. Number 4. Number 4. Number 3 is your navel. Number 3 is your navel where your spleen is. That's number 3. Number 3. Number 3. Number 2 is your genitalia. Where your sex organs are. That's number 3. Where your sex organs are. Number 3. And number 4 is your buttocks. The base of your spine, the buttocks. And number 1, excuse me, that's number 1. Okay. And so the goal is to raise your energy up from the buttocks, from the base of the spine, all the way to the crown, to the top of the head. Now, how do you do that? You do that by focusing on the energy from the crown. You never focus on the bottom. You focus from the energy being on from the top of the crown to the head. Imagining you have that your head is radiated with green light energy, green light healing energy, green light energy. Okay. And that energy is pulling your energy centers up. And you can visualize that when you're doing your rituals, when you're doing your chanting. Okay. You can visualize those things. And so those are the 7. Let me go back to it. Excuse me. Those are the 9 centers. These are the 9 energy centers that's in our bodies. So that's important for you guys to know that. So now you guys know. Now you guys know. Let's see. Okay, T Tiger asked a question. Who is Atun and Amun? Okay, so Atun, those are principles within our culture, right? So Atun means the most high, the highest point. Atun, and it was representing Re, the sun. It was when the sun was at its powerful point. And in this culture, they call it high noon. So when the sun is in high noon, that's when it's in its highest point and its strongest point. And so in our culture, we call it Atun. And when we said Amun, that was midnight. That was when the sun was hidden, meaning there's a force, there's a creative force in darkness and blackness. And we identified that force as Amun, the hidden one, the hidden creative force that created all of existence. And we identified it as Amun, the hidden one. Okay. So I hope that helps. All right. So let me see if you guys I can get into. I want to get into my discussion about the nine ball. It's it's on this. It's on this. We're on the same. We're on the same subject. Like I want you guys also. Y'all need to know this. Like I'm gonna go to the nine ball now. This is very important and on the same subject of understanding what you are, right? So this is a book we put out, right? This is called The Right Knowledge Scroll. The Right Knowledge Scroll we put out, and this is on page 54 of this particular scroll, and it's talking about our origins and what we are. Okay, and so I just wanted to reiterate this to you. Okay, so it says right here, it's talking about the origins of this planet. It says when the planet was forming and was in a state of desolation, of void and darkness, there were forces that were on this planet. Further, Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 23. Now, these forces were nine ether. These black forces created life in the waters first. Hydrocarbons were present in these waters. Hydrocarbon is simple methane or benzene gas that only contains hydrogen and carbon. Hydrocarbon, hydro from hudor means wet or water, and carbon from Latin carbo or charcoal, which is black. So these black gases of nine ether are the celestial origins of all Ethiopians or Tamarians or blacks, being behind the nine ball or the known nine planets of this new solar system. So, guys, let me keep going. We as Etherians were trapped within the Earth's atmosphere because we breathed in bad air until this year, the year 2000, which is 6,000 years and the end of Apep or Apophis rule. You are nine ether beings behind the nine ball who are called blacks, and all the Nawapians are from the original Nubans, born black as coal. For nine ether is the power that produced the pygmies, also known as the Kishites or the Kushites, also known as the Zulu or the Lulu, the ancestral tree of all woolly-haired people who were pre-dynastic Tamaray. So pre-dynastic Egypt, we call Tamaray, were ruled by the little ones, the Fahites. They were the ones who built Kemet, or they didn't even call it Kemet, actually. Because the whole continent at that time was called Ganawa. Ganawa, that's where the word Uganda comes from. That's where the word, the Garden of Eden, the garden in Hebrew is called Gan. And it means garden, Gan. And so Africa was called Ganawa. That was the original name, guys, just so you know. Okay, and it was ruled by the little ones, the Fahites that we come from, the Sands tribe and the Twa tribe. They ruled all of Africa, and they're the ones who set up the Egyptian culture. The tall Africans came from, guys, Samaria, Nigerians, Kenyans, all the tall Africans came from Samaria, and we basically ran out the little ones. We conquered them and pushed them to where they are now in South Africa and the jungles of the Congo. But here's my point that the master teacher is trying to make in this part here, that our spirit force is nine ether, and this nine ether is a black gas. Because the ghost forces are white gas. The Mukasu is always talking about he see these white ghosts, these white gases. Yes, that's his spirit forces. Our spirit forces are black. And there's a difference. And you guys need to know that. The Mukasu does have a pineal gland, but they said majority of their pineal gland is not active. I'm sure there are Mukasus who pineal gland is active, and then they said there's a lot of them their pineal gland isn't active. the Mukasu, basically, they lost their soul force because they got a disease called leprosy, and it messed up their genetics. And that's why a lot of them, they can't develop themselves spiritually. Some of them can. You have some of them can. That's why they connect to the Hindu doctrine. They always connect to the Hindu doctrine because that's their bloodline. And so that's where they get their spiritual teachings from, is the Hindu teachings, right? And so you do have those who are spiritual and can develop themselves and do develop themselves spiritually. But if you notice, the mass majority of Caucasians do not develop themselves spiritually, you know? And so that's that. Okay, so guys, I need you guys to be clear on that. As 9 ether beings, right? 9 ether is a black gas, and that's our spirit force. Okay. And so as a black gas, we incarnated into these bodies. We actually grew our bodies. Okay. So that's important, that I wanted you guys to know that. All right. So like last week, we went over these things. And what I didn't get to go over is what we learned in the books in the series, right? So if you look at the book 1 that we went over, what did we learn in part 1 of the 9-ball series? Okay, we learned that black people's origin are from 9 ether spirit forces, and I just went over that. And so now you guys need to understand our spirit force is a black gas. That's extremely important to know the difference. Okay, ours is a black gas. The Mukasu is a white gas, and the Asiatic gases, there's like an orange, like that orange gas. So it's like fire. It is like the fire that you see when you see fire, like that orange look. What else? We learned that black people are in their low status in the world because we lost our high level of sound right reasoning, in which we call the 9 mind. So the part 1 of the 9-ball explains that we're only in our predicament because we got away from our 9 mind reasoning, being in harmony with nature itself. So that's important for you guys to remember that and keep that in mind. We also learned that 9 knowledge is what is needed to resurrect black people back to our divine state as goddesses and gods. We got to get back to our 9 knowledge, which is nature knowledge, understanding the principles of natural nature. Okay. And we're going to do a discussion on the 19 rules or laws of nature that has a great impact on humanity that you guys must know. Okay, you must know, because ignorance to nature's laws is no excuse. That's where the Caucasian get that from. Ignorance to the law is no excuse. Actually, we're the ones who taught them that, but it's ignorant to nature's laws. There are no excuse. You're going to be judged by those laws, whether you know them or not. Like law number 1 is preservation of self and kind. This is an actual law within absolute nature, which means that you're obligated to preserve your bloodline. You're obligated not to defile your bloodline by natural nature. And anyone who violates that law, nature gets rid of them. And that's why we're suffering as a people, because for the last 6,000 years, we've been violating our bloodline. And we've been warring with each other. We've been abusing each other. And nature gets rid of species like that. Nature will give you viruses. It will give you hurricanes and tornadoes and do all kinds of things to get rid of all species that live adverse to it. And that's why the world is in chaos today, because it's being ruled by 6 ether forces who don't care anything about living in harmony with nature. And as long as we live that culture, we're going to continue to suffer. Okay, guys? And then says, our goal in life is to be liberated from adverse forces who are ruling us. So once you understand these different spirit forces that are ruling humans, then you understand, okay, this is why we're supposed to do this and not do that. Our people don't know this knowledge. And that's why we have to educate them about how we should live. They thinking that it's okay to be doing what they're doing, and it's not. Okay. And we keep listening to the Caucasian, like all this gay stuff they keep pushing on people. Remember, to live a gay lifestyle is to commit suicide, because that's the end of your bloodline. So if the whole planet was to take on the gay culture, that'd be the end of humanity, which is a violation of law number 1. Remember, law 1 is to preserve yourself and your kind. Okay, and so you can't take on a lifestyle that's designed to get rid of your bloodline. That's a violation of natural nature. That's how you know that culture is 6 ether. Anyone who promotes a culture like that, those are 6 ether and ghost forces that promote. That's a culture of death, because that's a culture that ends your existence. And who in their right mind want to end their existence? Who in their right mind want to get rid of their race? Okay, so that's what we learned. That's what we learned in book 1. So I definitely guys want to know that. Now, book 2. What did we learn in book 2, the non-world series? We learned that 6 ether is a secondary creator, and that all people with straight hair by nature are the spirit children of 6 ether forces. So that's important, guys, to know that. All people on earth who have straight hair by nature are the children of 6 ether forces. And 6 ether is opposite to 9 ether. 6 ether is opposite to 9 ether. You guys know that. Okay. We also learned that 6 ether spirits are adverse to 9 ether spirits. 6 ether is called Leviathan in the Bible, and the beginning of the evolutionary cycles of nature. And the evolutionary cycles of nature, guys, we said that started 18 million years ago, right? The evolutionary cycles of nature started 18 million years ago. So when we look at the smack circle, if I can find it, it started at Amun-Re, 6 west, and that was 18 million years ago, because right now we at 3 south on the bottom, which is Ahnun-Re. That's where we are now at 3 south, and on the left side, 6 west started 18 million years ago. So that was the evolutionary cycle. We've been in evolution for 16 million years. And remember, there's 4 major cycles in natural nature, in the universe. Just like on the planet Earth, we're in summer now, and we're moving into the fall cycle, and then we're going to move into the winter cycle, and then we're going to move into the spring cycle, and then we're going to come right back to summer, and that repeats. Well, the universe does the same thing, just in a greater time cycle. So, for instance, this galaxy that we're in, the Milky Way galaxy, it takes this galaxy 72 million years to rotate around the universe. I repeat. It takes this galaxy 72 million years to make a complete rotation around the universe. Okay, so it is important that you guys know that. So now let's go back. So we learned that we as Black people are living the culture of 6 ether, which is adverse to our culture of Wu-Sabat, which is the cause of our suffering, right? So that was book 2. Now, book 3. What did we learn in book 3? We learned about 3 ether spirit forces, and that the Caucasian race are the children of these 3 ether spirits, who also are identified as ghost spirit forces. So we was just talking about that earlier. The spirit forces of the Mukasu, the Caucasian, is the ghost spirit forces, 3 ether forces. We learned that 3 ether spirits feed off of the suffering of humanity, and that these spirits use religion to dumb down humanity, spiritual knowledge, so that they can take advantage of humanity's spiritual ignorance, right? So that's what book 3 talks about, that they feed off of that. And I want to show you something on that. We also learned that Black people are plagued by these spirit forces due to our mixing with the Mukasu race. Okay, so because we mixing in, we have these spirit forces in us, and that's why we act so crazy today. And I want to show you guys this clip talking about these 3 and 6 ether forces. This is really good. So check this out. Check this out.
Goes. The masses have never thirsted after truth. They turn aside from evidence that is not to their taste, preferring to deify error if error seduce them. Whoever can supply them with illusions is easily their master. Whoever attempts to destroy their illusions is always their victim. According to the psychologist Carl Jung, the greatest threat to civilization lies not with the forces of nature, nor with any physical disease, but with our inability to deal with the forces of our own psyche. We are our own worst enemies, or as the Latin proverb puts it, man is a wolf to man. In Civilization in Transition, Jung states that this proverb is a sad yet eternal truism, and our wolf-like tendencies come most prominently into play at those times of history when mental illness becomes the norm rather than the exception in a society, a situation which Jung termed a psychic epidemic. Indeed, it is becoming ever more obvious, he writes, that it is not famine, not earthquakes, not microbes, not cancer, but man himself, who is man's greatest danger to man, for the simple reason that there is no adequate protection against psychic epidemics, which are infinitely more devastating than the worst of natural catastrophes. In this video, we are going to explore the most dangerous of all psychic epidemics, the mass psychosis. A mass psychosis is an epidemic of madness, and it occurs when a large portion of a society loses touch with reality and descends into delusions. Such a phenomenon is not a thing of fiction. Two examples of mass psychoses are the American and European witch hunts of the 16th and 17th centuries, and the rise of totalitarianism in the 20th century. During the witch hunts, thousands of individuals, mostly women, were killed, not for any crimes they committed, but because they became the scapegoats of societies gone mad. In some Swiss villages, writes Francis Hill, there were scarcely any women left alive after the frenzy had finally burned itself out. When a mass psychosis occurs, the results are devastating. Jung studied this phenomenon and wrote that the individuals who make up the infected society become morally and spiritually inferior. They sink unconsciously to an inferior intellectual level. They become more unreasonable, irresponsible, emotional, erratic, and unreliable, and worst of all, crimes the individual alone could never stand are freely committed by the group smitten by madness. What makes matters worse is that those suffering from a mass psychosis are unaware of what is occurring. For just as an individual gone mad cannot step out of his mind to observe the errors in his ways, so too there is no Archimedean point from which those living through a mass psychosis can observe their collective madness. But what causes a mass psychosis? To answer this question, we must first explore what drives an individual mad. While there are many potential triggers of madness, such as an excessive use of drugs or alcohol, brain injuries, and other illnesses, these physical causes will not concern us here. Our concern is with psychological, or what are called psychogenic triggers, as these are the most common culprits of the mass psychosis. The most prevalent psychogenic cause of a psychosis is a flood of negative emotions, such as fear or anxiety, that drives an individual into a state of panic. When in a state of panic, an individual will naturally seek relief, as it is too mentally and physically draining to subsist in this hyper-emotional state.
Now, guys, I want to say this. He was saying what drives people crazy is by keeping them in a state of fear. And this is what the Mukasa did to us, have been doing to us for the last 500 years. They had to keep us in a perpetual state of fear. And that's what opens you up to be possessed also by these spirit forces. This is why people are psychotic today, because that's why it's not by accident that they have police going around murdering us. It's designed to keep us in a perpetual state of fear. Okay. They keep us in poverty. That keeps you in fear of being evicted. That keeps you in fear of being able to feed yourself. And this is how they keep us psychologically messed up in their system. So keep that in mind, guys. Let's keep going.
while escaping from the state of panic can be accomplished through adaptive means, such as facing up to and defeating the fear-generating threat. Another way to escape is to undergo a psychotic break. A psychotic break is not a descent into a state of greater disorder, as many believe, but a reordering of one's experiential world, which blends fact and fiction, or delusions and reality, in a way that helps end the feelings of panic. Silvano Arietti, one of the 20th century's foremost authorities on schizophrenia, explains the psychogenic steps that lead to madness. Firstly, there is the phase of panic, when the patient starts to perceive things in a different way, is frightened on account of it, appears confused, and does not know how to explain the strange things that are happening. The next step is what Arietti calls a phase of psychotic insight, whereby an individual succeeds in putting things together by devising a pathological way of seeing reality, which allows him to explain his abnormal experiences. The phenomenon is called insight because the patient finally sees meaning and relations in his experiences. But the insight is psychotic because it is based on delusions, not on adaptive and life-promoting ways of relating to whatever threats precipitated the panic. The delusions, in other words, allow the panic-stricken individual to escape from the flood of negative emotions, but at the cost of losing touch with reality, and for this reason, Arietti says that a psychotic break can be viewed as an abnormal way of dealing with an extreme state of anxiety. If a panic-triggering flood of negative emotions in a weak and vulnerable individual can trigger a psychotic break, then a mass psychosis can result when a population of weak and vulnerable individuals is driven into a state of panic by threats real, imagined, or fabricated. But as delusions can take many forms, and as madness can manifest in countless ways, the specific manner in which a mass psychosis unfolds will differ based on the historical and cultural context of the infected society. But in the modern era, it is the mass psychosis of totalitarianism that appears to be the greatest threat. Totalitarianism, writes Arthur Versluis, is the modern phenomenon of total centralized state power, coupled with the obliteration of individual human rights. In the totalized state, there are those in power, and there are the objectified masses, the victims. In a totalitarian society, the population is divided into two groups, the rulers and the ruled, and both groups undergo a pathological transformation. The rulers are elevated to an almost godlike status, which is diametrically opposed to our nature as imperfect beings who are easily corrupted by power. The masses, on the other hand, are transformed into the dependent subjects of these pathological rulers and take on a psychologically regressed and childlike status. Hannah Arendt, one of the 20th century's preeminent scholars of this form of rule, called totalitarianism an attempted transformation of human nature itself. But this attempted transformation only turns sound minds into sick minds. For as the Dutch medical doctor who studied the mental effects of living under totalitarianism wrote, "There is in fact much that is comparable between the strange reactions of the citizens of totalitarianism and their culture as a whole, on the one hand, and the reactions of the sick schizophrenic on the other. The social transformation that unfolds under totalitarianism is built upon and sustained by delusions. For only deluded men and women regress to the childlike status of obedient and submissive subjects, and
Okay, guys, and so like he's talking about the systems that we live under, which is totalitarianism, which is controlled by the elite, which is how capitalism runs. It runs where you have the elite class, the upper class, the elite who control the masses, where the masses are subject to the rules, laws, and regulations of the elite. And this is why we as Black people are so docile, because they keep us in a perpetual state of fear, anxiety, and we lack the will to even want to do for ourselves, to take responsibility and to separate from the system, and we keep listening to the lie after lie after lie, and we keep feeding the same system that's deceiving us and that's abusing us. For instance, I always talk about how Joe Biden, when he was running for president, He told us he was going to get us $2,000, and if he gets selected, right? And what happens? He wins the election, and what does he give us? He gives us $1,400, and to say, I'm giving you $1,400 because Trump already gave you guys $600. Well, he lied. He didn't tell us that. That's a lie. Okay, he said he was going to give us $2,000 if we got him elected. But he lied, and he gave the people $1,400. But did we complain? Did we say anything? No. We're so used to the lies, we just accept their rulership. We accept anything they say, and we don't rebel. And that's because our people are living in a perpetual state of fear, delusion, and ignorance. And only right knowledge is going to get us out of that. That's in essence what we're trying to teach and educate our people about. And the master teacher, that's why I'm bringing up this topic. He warned us 50 years ago in the 9 Ball series. 50 years ago, he warned us about these spirit forces and what they're designed to do to us, psychologically. And while back, Pharaoh, what's up, my brother? So again, this is a huge problem for us. T Tiger, where did I get that video? I found it online. It was on YouTube. It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube. The name, it's actually that person who does that video, they put out a lot of videos. It's called Mass Psychosis: How an Entire Population Become Mentally Ill. That's the name of the video, and the people that it's called After School is the YouTube channel that put that out, and they put out a lot of good videos, talking about this corrupt system that we live in. In fact, there's another video you guys need to be aware of. Okay, now this is about what we're dealing with 6 ether. Okay, and this is talking about how let's see which one. There's so much. This one is how they
Hi, I'm Nicole Hawk.
the government spies on they spy on you. So this is what they do.
Carried an AR-15.
Okay, and this is they're interviewing the actual guy who worked for the NSA. He developed the software on how to spy on people, on a population. Now he said he developed this software to spy on Russia. He said he never intended for this program to be used on American citizens. But everything we do is monitored here. You have absolutely no freedom. They monitor your cell phones. They monitor everything. That's why they have cameras everywhere, right? And guys, China, I looked at, I was listening to another discussion about the Chinese, right? During COVID, when they locked down their country in China, they were saying that they actually locked the people inside their homes where they couldn't even get out. They locked the people inside their homes where they couldn't even get out. These are the type of governments that rule the planet. And we as African people, these are all 6 ether forces at work. We have to get from under their rulership. Remember, that's goal number 3. Goal number 3 of being a Sabian is for us to, in our principles, in our core principles, right? Goal number 3, remember that. Goal number 3 is what? Work to build Sabbatia, to set up our own land again, to set up our own society again. We have to get away from 6 ether and ghost forces because they are repressive and they're oppressive forces. And that's all they know how to rule, is to be repressive and oppressive. But this particular guy,
they took one of the programs
this guy right here,
part of it, and started to use it to spy on everybody in this country. So, and that was a program they created called Stellar Wind. That was the separate and compartmented from the regular activity that was ongoing because it was doing domestic spying. All the equipment was coming in. I knew something was happening, but then when the contractors I had hired came and told me what they were doing, it was clear where all the hardware was going and what they were using it to do. It was simply a different input. Instead of being foreign, it was domestic.
Okay, so this guy is just talking about he worked for the NSA. He was the one that developed the software. He was and that program was used to spy on Russia. And he said George Bush and them back in 2001, 2002, whatever, they started using the same program to spy on all Americans. And it's crazy. It's crazy. And that's what that guy Snowden got in trouble for, because he was the one that, put that out there. He was the one that tried to expose it to the general public about what the government was doing. And so, these people, they're not fit to rule. They're not fit to rule. They're not fit to rule. That's all I can say. Okay. Now, book 4, what did we learn in part 4 of the 9-ball series? So in part 4, we learned about the nature of nature and that nature exists in cycles of duration. So that's one of the things in book 4 taught us about the nature of nature and that nature exists in cycles. Okay. And this is something also that our people are ignorant to, because the Caucasian make you think that existence is linear, meaning you start with the primitive and you move into a more advanced society. And so they try to make people think that they are the ones who have the advanced society, not telling the truth that there have been advanced societies in prehistoric times. We came from advanced societies. That's why people talk about Atlantis and Mu and Lemuria. And those were very extreme advanced societies. But they hide it. They hide these facts, right? Yeah, they probably do, Allison. So now also we learned about the nature, and that nature exists in cycles of duration. We learned that nature exists based on rules or laws, like the law of the opposites, the law of pain and pleasure, right? Or the law of the changing ruling cycles of nature, which goes from 9 ether forces to 6 ether forces. So we learned that. We also learned that we as Black people must learn to harness 9 ether energy, which gives us our 9 mind, which in turn gives us 9 knowledge. Once we are operating from our 9 knowledge mind, this is what it will take for us to regain our ruling status in the world. And so that's what, in fact, I like to read the, actually the last paragraph of book 1 talks about that, right? The last paragraph, last sentence says 9 ether develops 9 reason, and 9 reason develops 9 knowledge, and 9 knowledge develops the 9 mind power, which is a prerequisite to Ethiopian mental and physical liberation. So we have to get back to 9 knowledge, but you can't get 9 knowledge unless you have 9 reason. And you can't have 9 reason, right? Excuse me. Yes. You can't have 9 reason unless you're harnessing 9 ether. And how do you get 9 ether into the body? Through the rituals. Through the rituals, it expands your consciousness. It expands your awareness, because you learn how to harness 9 ether energy into the body. And that's what develops one's intellect if you're diligent enough to do the rituals that we talk about. So that's the very last sentence, very last paragraph, and this is booklet 1 of the 9-ball series. And like I said before, even though this stuff was written 50 years ago, a lot of it is still very valid today. In fact, the master teacher has been updated, and like I showed you in the Right Knowledge series, where you learned about that 9 ether is a black gas, right? 9 ether is a black gas of creation, and this is a Right Knowledge series book, and this particular book also came out like in 2000 when this particular book came out, and it talks about that. And so it is imperative that you guys are familiar with all of these things. So I just wanted to make, these points extremely clear. I wanted to stress it is extremely important that you guys understand, study this, memorize it, embed it in your heart, embed it in your mind, so that you guys can teach this. Because you guys need to spread this information. You guys need to spread the word, and we need to educate our people that we got to get away from 6 ether forces. We must get away from 6 ether forces, 6 ether and ghost forces that are ruling this planet. Yeah, it's a statement. So, I had to say all of that. But, and I forgot to say this, as this was in the proof book, you guys got to remember this phrase. I think this is a very important phrase in the proof. This is in the proof book, where the master teacher writes, in the beginning were the sons, because, the Bible says in the beginning, God created the heavens. And no, it's in the beginning. It wasn't no God. In the beginning were the sons. And the sons are within Fatar, which is natural nature. And the sons are natural nature. The sons, the true Kakabat stars, are Panatharu, the overseers, who grew absolute natural nature from and of omniverse, which is all, into universe, which is the all. And so when we say all, we say pa'ut. When we say the all, we say pa-pa'ut. Right, guys? And so it is important that the creative force are those sons. The sons, we as non-ether come from the sons. The sons are non-ether. And we come from those sons. And those sons are the ones who grew the omniverse, the universe itself, in the blackness, the black gas. And we represent that. We grew existence. And black people don't want to accept this is our origins. This is who and what we are. And so our doctrine is about you. That's why we teach spiritual development and spiritual education, because you're not supposed to believe these things. You're supposed to acknowledge this reality by developing yourself spiritually so that you could become aware of this stuff. Once you make contact with your oversoul will educate you about everything I'm saying. That way you can authenticate everything we're teaching for yourself. I can't stress that enough. That's why I said the master teacher makes that very clear in that book I told you about, Is There Life After Death? He goes into that in detail. He goes into it in detail. I actually got rid of it. But he explains it in detail in that particular book. And I can't stress that. I can't stress that book enough. It's extremely important, guys. Now, so that's the end of what I wanted to go over today. If you guys have any questions or concerns, do not hesitate to ask. Next week, we're going to get started. We're going to go into the what we call the origin of the Bible. Next week, we're going to start with that. The origin of the Bible. We're going to start with that. And there was a series of books that the master teacher, the first books he put out in the 60s, called Bible Interpretations and Explanations. And so that's dealing with the origins of the Bible, the origins of the true stories of Adam and Eve. And so we're going to get into discussing that and explaining that story in detail. And that's going to be also a very extensive topic, because there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot of things to understand about how the Bible came about, and the concept of this Adam and Eve story, how that story came about, because it's very extensive. There's a lot of things to that particular story that we're gonna get into, and you guys need to be very aware of it, extremely aware of it. So, on that note, if no one has any more questions, we're gonna get into our prayers to end out. And so we're reading the prayer system to end today's class. This is a book we put out, the master teacher, called Pa Balach M Yananin. Pa Balach M Yananin. And it means the message of Yanun. The message of Yanun. Okay, question? Question, let's see. I read that ether forces spread through the body from the bones in the body. Are you confirming that assertion? Okay. The body, how do I explain this? Understand this. Everything in existence is made of ether. Every material object in existence is made of ether. The question becomes, what quality of the ether is it made of? So when we say black people origin is 9 ether, so 9 ether is actually what grew our bodies. So for instance, what is the body made of? The body is made of 3 substances: solid, liquid, and gas. The solid part is your flesh, right? Your flesh, your organs. Those are cellular material. And then that's one part of the body. And then the other part of the body is what? The liquid, which is the blood, the mucus, right? The semen that's in the body. Okay. And so that's the liquid part of the body. And then the next part of the body is the gas. What is the gas? The gas is your mind, your consciousness. The brain operates off of electrical impulses. So the question becomes, what came first? Solid, liquid, or gas? And we know for a fact that gas is what produces a liquid, and liquids are what produce a solid. The best example of that is to understand ice. Ice is solid, and when you rise the temperature of ice, it turns into a liquid, which is water. And if you keep rising the temperature of water, it turns into a gas, which is we call water vapor. And when you reverse the temperature, or what we call reverse the polarity, it reverses. So when the question is asked, if 9 ether, so when we ask the question, if is 9 ether flowing through the body, 9 ether is what grew the body. Okay. And it's what, and when 9 ether slows down, it liquefies. And as it keeps slowing down, it crystallizes into cells and organs and tissue. And that's how the human bodies are grown. That's how all species are created in nature, where the ether energies slow down in vibration to crystallize, creating a matrix which creates a species. So all species in nature are produced the same way. And they everything originates from ether. The only question becomes, what is the quality of the ether that produces the species? And that's what we're trying to educate people, that what produced the African body is 9 ether versus what produced the Asiatic bodies, which is 6 ether, versus what produced the Caucasian body, which is 3 ether, right? But we're all made up of ether, all of us. And so our spirit is ether. So when the physical body dies, right, the spirit separates from the body, because the body, when the blood stops flowing, the spirit can't live in the body because the spirit lives off of blood. And the blood is produced in the marrow of the bones. And so that's where the spirits reside at, in the marrow of the bones, because that's where the blood is produced. So, that's important to know that. Okay, let's see. What else? Using it against. Sorry. The Bible has been manipulated, so I won't be here. Okay. Well, remember, all our classes are T-Tag. All our classes are recorded, so definitely, that's going to be a series of discussions going through that. Question, T-Tiger question: what about our quantum world? Will we see, meet Atun or Amun? Remember, okay, so here's the deal, T-Tiger. Atun and Amun are principles, right? So what I was saying is Amun represents the hidden one, and Atun represents the most high, right? The highest power, the most, highest power, which we identify as the sun. So your oversoul is considered Amun, the hidden. That's a hidden part of your nature that you must learn to become aware of. That's what the purpose of the spiritual practices, to teach yourself how to become aware of your oversoul. Everybody must become aware of their oversoul. That's why I keep recommending that book, because the book I told you guys about, which is There Life After Death? That particular book, the master teacher goes into great detail explaining that. He goes into great detail. It's an excellent book on that subject, along with the other book, the materialization book that I talk about. Those two books. Now I know the book Is There Life After Death? I believe that is on Scribe, so everyone can get access to that particular book. I don't think the materialization book is on Scribes, but I know the Is There Life After Death book, that's definitely on Scribes, that you guys can get access to. So I can't stress this book enough, guys. I can't stress this book enough. This is a excellent piece of work the master put out. Okay, let's see. T-Tiger, let me go back. Question: where did the video? We thought all because it's belief. Check your current account. Bye. And T-Tiger using. Yep. Sorry about it. Thank you. Question: what about? Question: we not meet. Question: T-Tiger, we will not meet anyone to weigh our hearts against a feather. Those are metaphors, T-Tiger. Those are metaphors when they talk about that. When they talk about the weighing of the heart, that is a metaphor for your soul. That is a metaphor for your soul. Okay. Remember, your soul, I taught you guys, is the emotional part of you. Right. So when they say that your heart has to be weighed against the feather and the heart has to be lighter than the feather. Right. So in reality, a real heart cannot be lighter than the feather. That's impossible. So they're talking about another type of heart, which is you have an inner heart. You have an inner heart or a spiritual heart, which is your soul force, your emotional force. That is the force that connects you to nature itself. And that's what they're weighing. They're weighing whether or not are you connected with nature? Were you someone who's trying to live in harmony with nature? Or are you of the disagreeable ones trying to destroy nature, trying to violate nature? Someone who defiled your own body, which means you have no soul. You lost it. And so your heart would be impure. Right. And so that's a metaphor trying to explain that to you. So a lot of the things that they talk about in the Egyptian mysteries are metaphors for transformation. And in order for somebody to go from one dimension to a higher dimension, whether or not you're going to reincarnate or move into the higher dimension, because what the goal is, T Tiger, is whether or not you get first resurrection or second resurrection. That's why I have right here. We talked about this before. If you look in this paragraph, I'll read. If you read Revelations, the book of Revelations, chapter 20, verse 6, it says Jesus Christ speaks about the first resurrection, right? It says the following: blessed and holy is he that has part in the first resurrection. On such the second death has no power. So when you talk about the second death, that's your heart being weighed by the feathers of Ma'at. The second death means you physically died, right? So that's the first death. And then the second death means that if your heart is weighed and is devoured by a Apophis or a map, then that's the second death. That's where the Christians got that from in the Bible. You with me? So the first death is you physically die, and then you're going to be judged. Okay? They're gonna judge and try you, and if you're found unworthy, that's the second death, which means that's a spiritual death. So you had a physical death, first death, then you had a second death, which is your spiritual death. Are you with me? Okay, so that's very important that you understand that. So the goal is to be a part of the first resurrection. What is the first resurrection? It is to resurrect before you physically die. Every student of Wu-Sabat supposed to be trying to become one with their oversoul before you physically die. That's what it says. So let's keep reading. It says Jesus Christ speaks about the first resurrection, and it says the following: blessed and holy is he that has part in the first resurrection. On such the second death has no power, but they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. What is that 1,000 years? That 1,000 years is actually from where we are now, 2,000 to 3,000, from 1,000 years from today, from the year 2000 to the year 3000. But I ain't gonna go into that now. But let's keep going. It says, where we at? This is the raising of the first fruits, the mentally dead. See the key here? The key is this is the raising of the first fruits, which is the mentally dead, of which I was one. Meaning the master teacher's talking now. He said, I was one, because the master was the firstborn of the mentally dead. He was the first one among us to be one with his oversoul. He was actually born like that. Okay? And he says, I too walked the planet unaware of my potential. I was as you are. I was raised by the angel Michael, El Khidr. Okay, Angel Michael is also known as Yananan, Yanun. So when you look at his image here, if I can find it, this is him as Yanun. Okay, this is him. The spirit force is Yanun, who is a Riskian, and that's the spirit force that incarnated into his body. So he didn't become aware of Yanun. Yanun incarnated into him when he was a child, but he didn't become aware of this being until 1970, that the spirit force was moving through him. Then he didn't even become aware that that spirit force was himself. He said he didn't even realize that was actually him, a higher version of himself, until he turned 40 years old. Okay, so that's important for you guys to know. So he goes on to say, El Khidr, the highest of all the angelic beings, when he appeared to me and informed me of my responsibility back in 1970. Now I am raising others to the truth of who you are, where you should be going, and how to get there. Okay, and so this is about being just like him, being a part of the first resurrection, which means that you do it before you die. That way, those who do it receives what they call their crown of life. It talks about that in Revelation. Excuse me. You receive your crown of life. So, that's important for you guys to know. I hope that helps. Question: who is going to judge and try me? Okay. Actually, your oversoul is the one judging you, which is you. You're the one judging you, because there's no I know what they teach in, like in Christianity, they try to teach in Islam, they do the same thing, that Allah is going to judge you and God is going to judge you. Remember, they got that from us. They took our spiritual doctrine and they changed it around, right? And so that's why do it like this. We teach in our culture, in our African culture, like the 42 negative confessions of Ma'at. The 42 negative confessions of Ma'at. Now, they say that the Hebrews, the Jews, got their 10 commandments from the 42 negative confessions of Ma'at because they're similar in concepts, right? They argue that that's where the 10 commandments come from, but there's a big difference. And what is the difference? One is the negative confessions and the other are commandments, right? So in African culture, we would confess in the 42 negative confessions, we're making declarations what we did not do. We wasn't unrighteous. We wasn't robbers. We weren't thieves. We weren't this. We weren't that. And this is what you're saying. This is what I'm not. And so what that means that is you take responsibility for yourself. If you don't live a righteous life, then what happens to you is that's how you get reincarnated. So you judge yourself by your actions and your deeds. But when religion got it, they took it from negative confessions where you're confessing to yourself what you did and did not do. And they took it and said, you're being commanded by some spirit force called God. And so they say God gave you 10 commandments, which is really 613 commandments in the Old Testament, not 10. They only tell people about 10, but if you ask any Jew, they'll tell you 613 commandments. And commandments is like an overlord telling you, commanding you what you should do and what you should not do. God said, thou shalt not do this. And God said, thou shalt not do that. Okay. That's how they put our people under the spell, where they took responsibility from the individual and put it on some unseen spirit force. And it's important that our people, and I'm talking about our people who are in these religions, they must be educated that they are responsible for their decisions, not no unseen spirit force they call God. They're responsible. You're responsible for all your actions and all your deeds, and you're going to judge yourself. You're going to judge yourself. Those are when you see those judgment scenes in Egyptian iconography, in our arts, those are metaphors. Those are metaphors, right? And that's why it's important to understand the metaphors and what those metaphors were trying to teach, right? And we taught those in the mystery schools, what those things meant. Remember, a lot of people, when those things were being written, the hieroglyphics, when that stuff was being written in ancient Kemet, the majority of people didn't read that. Those are the priesthood, the priests and the learned scholars. They, the rulers, they knew those things, and you had to be initiated, to understand those sciences. So a lot of people didn't, they weren't aware of certain, concepts, I should say, that the elite in the society was aware of, so that gets into a whole nother discussion. Okay. All right. So I hope that helps. And like I said, I think hopefully this was a good class, and we're gonna move on. As I say again, always spread the word, let it be known, tell people. Every Tuesday we do our discussions. Okay, another question. Okay, question. T Tiger, if I did something wrong, who do I confess to get it off the heart? Do I go to Atun or the universe? Okay, interesting question. Now, let me try to explain this. Right, the first when we talk about confession, right, this is something that people become familiar with the Christian church, and in particular the Catholic Church. Remember, the Catholic Church is the original church. The Catholic Church is the original church. In fact, all Christians are supposed to be Catholics. All Christians supposed to be Catholics. Anyone who calls himself a Christian and is not a Catholic is a heretic. I repeat, Anyone who calls himself a Christian and is not a Catholic is a heretic. You hear me? So all these Protestants, that's why they call themselves Protestants. That means they protested against the Catholic Church. But the Catholic Church is the mother church. It's the first church. And so that's very important to understand that. And let me tell you why that's important. Because the Catholic Church are the ones who did confession. They're the ones who do, not did, they do confessions. And I grew up in a Lutheran church when I was young. They didn't do that. And that's the closest of the other Protestant churches. The first Protestant church was the Lutheran church because it was Martin Luther who protested against the Catholics. And he created the first Protestant church. And they're the most boringest church out of all the Protestant churches. Then you had the Baptist church and then the Presbyterians and then the list goes on, right? So when you get into the Protestants, they get away from that concept of confession. They get away from that. Now, if you look at the Catholic Church and you look at the Catholic cathedrals, they were modeling all of their procedures from ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt. That concept of confession actually comes from ancient Kemet. The way they built the Catholic Church, the open space. In fact, people would, that's why one of the reasons anyone who's familiar with the Catholic Church, me growing up in New York City, right? I used to live in Manhattan, and St. Paul Cathedral. It was not St. Paul, St. Patrick was the church. It was right up the street from where I lived. And so when I used to go to school, I had to take the train, and sometimes I had to go through that church. And sometimes I walk in there and it's big, it's humongous. And you can go inside that church anytime. Anytime, the church is always open, unlike the Protestant churches who are closed. You can go inside a Catholic church because you can sit in there for meditation purposes. Okay. And so the concept of confession, that came from our culture, because remember, Rome ruled Egypt. The Romans ruled Egypt. Catholic Church, look at the name as the master teacher broke it down. Holistic, Catholic, which means holy cat, holistic cat, the holy cat, the cult of the holy cat. That's where the Roman church, it was an Egyptian, a cult of the cat, which was the cat deities in ancient Kemet was Sekhmet, which was Bastet. That's why you have the Sphinx, which is a cat. And this was the cult of the holy cat that the Romans copied. Okay, and they was following all of the principles of ancient Kemet. So my point was, people would go to the temples in ancient Kemet to speak to the priests, to ask the priest for advice and guidance. It wasn't necessarily a confession. It was almost like a psychologist today. They would go there and get advice and guidance, and that's kind of what the priest's supposed to do. So it's not that you confessing to them. It's just that you're supposed to have priests in our communities that you can talk to, elders in our community that you can talk to about challenges that you're dealing with, and they will assist you on your spiritual path. So that's where the concept of confessions comes from. It was systems that we had set up in ancient Kemet that people can talk to the priests and get advice and get guidance. And that's where the Catholic got that concept from. The whole concept of monks and nuns, they got all that stuff from us. They got all that stuff from Kemet. The Romans when they were in Egypt. So I hope that learns. And so, this is that's one of the reasons why we had the master teacher, because he's the most high priest among us, and he will assist us. That's why so many of our books, he's dealing with all types of subject matters to assist us in our mental development. Okay. Well, I'm trying to give you a backstory and what that all means. So what I'm trying to say is that, we have elders in our communities that are there to assist people in whatever decisions they're dealing with in their life. That's all I'm saying. That's why I'm doing the classes myself. That's why I'm doing question and answer classes to assist people. and anyone who needs to talk, private, I don't have no problem with talking to anyone private about different scenarios. That's our point. That's my point of trying to explain that to you. Okay, so maybe I didn't understand your question then. If you can ask it in a different way, then maybe I can give a different, a better answer, or I'm not understanding. It's not like I said, we don't do confessions, is what I'm trying to. Yeah, we don't do confessions. We have discussions. And so what we do is our people are dealing with all kinds of challenges in the world, and so what we try to do is educate them about decisions that they make, so it's not about no one confessing to us. It's about us trying to help people in making better decisions, so people would come to elders in our community to discuss challenges that they're dealing with in their life. And so that's what I'm saying. People like myself, who are teachers in the information, try to assist people that come to class like yourself, who may have questions. Like, so if you want to speak to us one-on-one, we open ourselves up for that purpose, to talk to individuals on a one-on-one basis to help them with life decisions, or to direct them on how to deal with a particular situation. So it's not, I repeat, we don't do confessions. I was just trying to give you a backstory on where the concept of confession comes from, and that's not something we do. So, I hope that helps. If not, and email me. You can always email me. Especially if it's a personal question or whatever, you can definitely email me, and I'll try my best to assist in anything. So anyone can email me for questions, to to try to get more clarity on the answer. In that note, well, yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that, T Tiger, as far as anger. That's one of the challenges that we as a people are dealing with. The world, unfortunately, is full of anger. And we as Black people, like I said, those are spirit forces that trigger those types of emotions in us, and that's why we're trying to educate our people about different emotions that flow through us and how we should be dealing with those emotions. That's why we have the different spiritual practices to assist us, and so it's a process. I will say that this is a process. It's not something overnight. As how, I've been doing this for quite some time, and the master teacher's been trying to teach us for quite some time. This is a process, and it's a journey for all of us. And a lot of students go through a lot of different challenges. We all have challenges, as it says in the Bible. All of us fall short in the eyes and the grace of the Lord. And so, we're all working towards perfection. That's one of the things we used to teach in Islam. In Islam, it talks about you work to perfect yourself, because we become a broken thing. And as the Christians also teach, we're born into a world of sin, which is very true. And because we're born into a world of sin, we've taken on a corruptible spirit, and our goal under the body of Christ is to become incorruptible, taking on an incorruptible spirit. And the only way to get to that point of an incorruptible spirit is through acknowledging and becoming one with the creative force opening up your heart to this creative force of divine love that we talk about. But that's a process. It's a process. I thank everyone who thanks me. Right back, and greetings to all. But on that note, guys, we're gonna be back here next week, right? We're gonna be back here next week, and we're gonna keep going. I'm not gonna stop. You don't give up. I'm not giving up. Y'all should know that by now. I'm not giving up. So I hope you guys can last, because as I said, I've been doing this for quite some time. So I'm not giving up. I'm not gonna give up on you guys. So don't give up on yourself, right? Don't give up on this information. This is the solution. This is the answer to all our problems. Our people need the right knowledge so that we can make the right decisions, make better decisions, because we've been making some yucky decisions that's been leading to our suffering. So, I'll leave it at that. And I'm gonna end class, but T-Tiger, if you have any additional questions, just email me. That'd be better. Email me, and then we can build. We can build. So just email me. Anyone who had specific questions, you can definitely email me. Or you guys, if you have an open question, you can definitely put questions in the comments. Right? You're always gonna put questions in the comments. So I encourage that. And for people who are watching this and record it, always put questions in the comments. That's helpful, not just for you. That's helpful for everybody who's watching and listening, because the more questions I have that I can answer, the better it is for all students, for everyone's edification and growth. All right. So I'm going to start with our closing out prayer. Abdul Kalam Namasat will bazo naman kasamana fa pa pot. Panan safa kawun. This book, Pasawat will patara, the truth and the way. Z kawuna nazula laha enkum. It was sent down for you all. Wu-Sabat from Wu-Sabat star constellation. Amah Hadei en Shafe'un, as a guidance and a healing. Salafu Wu-Nataru, from your ancestors and overseers. Aju Laya Nafas Ukum, return to your own. Afuk Shana Kawun Kuma, accept what is yours. Pasawa Wu Patara, the truth and the way. Annun Tawo Enkum, we thank you all. Lahab Panan Shafe on Wu Alaj, for this healing and cure. Annun Tawo Enkum Lahab Nasuinun, we thank you all for not forgetting us. Annun Tawo Enkum Lahab Ashuk, we thank you all for divine unconditional love. Enkum Atta Salafunum, you are our ancestors. Anunata Khra'ukum, we are your children. Anun Talub Nasar Kuma, we seek your help. Anun Talub Nasar Kuma, we seek your help. And so Nun Sayim Nataru, help us, divine overseers. And so Nun Salafunun, help us, our ancestors. Anunata Munwapu, we are Nawapians. Ye munwapu annun laduda enkum mane mukwanun ama muntayu faye pafef enkum kada anuk bi khabat wu mudat wu maat. O Nawapians, we birth you all from our being as muntaru, so that you all can live by way of peace and justice. Ama kharat unun faye aju layenun, as our children, so return towards us. Ama wahu yasa wu adu muslafu kum panen kawun pa sahe tarak laheh enkum as one family and call your ancestors. This is the right way for you all. And wu enu at the pa nataru, wu enu at the shawaf jaya enkum jaya kala wakut at. And we are pa nataru, and we are looking at you at all times. Kara ashuk, wu az ko munwapu, enu khator enkum ama karat unun, wu enu rasula enkum muhtaikum kare pa sahe tara lake rajul layanun. With divine love, and remember, Nawapians, we choose you as our children, and we sent you all your guide with the right way in order to return towards us. Butem ragub enhu awashunu enhu kawuna rasula lake amul lahe enkum nagadna'u. Do not reject him or what he was sent to do. For you all, Nagaru. Enkum kawuna pa wahan tapal salal shalal takyui kawan pa nahe. You all were the first world race of creation and will be the last. Lama kala yakha'u hayaz zabu la wahu bi wahu. When all others have faded one by one, Alesh enthum faula tem wafuk munzar ohum lahe wa salal kawuna rasulla enthum hum munzar or wu hasut entkum anudkum munzar or nun kare nazar kuma fayebu tem raqub shanu ennun nazul laha enkum nagad na'u ennun at the ashuk ennun butem waud enkum kare nara at azab at way khabad at amad pa muanaku. Because they did not accept their warner, for each race was sent their own warners, and now you all have yours, our own warner, with you all warning. So do not reject what we sent down for you all, Nagaru. We are divine love. We do not threaten you with fires, tortures, or sufferings as the Anaku, the Anunnaki. Enum butem shayul enkum lahe khawuf nun awe jaul enkum khator wahu afef nun. We do not ask you all to fear us or make you all choose one of us. Kade ame enkum ashuk mudad tatkum wu mudad kum ashuk nun. Just as you enun ashuk enkum butem haya bi khawaf shalil mawat enun shawul kabud enkum butem khawuf. As we love you all, you do not live by way of fear of death. We will receive you all. Do not fear. Pa munwat u enthum haya kharanun bi khabat Wu-Sabat nut nahe lahe pa baed wahi pa khatat aye khayor laye afar. The dead ones, they live with us by way of peace and happiness. No end for the soul, only the body which transforms towards dust. Lake ghazui pa taha. In order to feed the earth, wu pa baed rajul layenun, and the soul returns towards us. Panen kawun tarak kuma kuma. This is you all's own way. Faye aju laye muslafu kum kum bi wunawa muslafu kum tarak. So return to your own ancestors by way of wunawa, your ancestors' way. Faye az ko enunata ashuk wu enu ashuk enkum kharad unun. So remember, we are divine love, and we love you all, our children. Enkum at the muntaru kharad u impa nataru. You all are Muntaru, children of Natharu, overseers. Pa'ut Kawun. Azkor Ama Enkum Kawuna Nawum Wu Enu Rasula Enkum Munzar Un Yakah Yakuda Enkum. Remember, as you all were asleep, and we sent you all a warner who awakened you all. Anun Kawun Nuna Yananan Wahu Afefnun. He is named Yanun, one of us. Wu Zahura Entkum Kare Naut Hade and Wu Anun Wajuda Entkum. And remember, you all with no guidance, and we found you all. Wu Hasut Entkum Ata Khafush. And now you all are free. Pa'ut Kawun. Anun. Atun. Atun. Amun. Jannah 4. Okay, guys, until next week, we will continue our discussions. We have so much to continue to talk about. We really do, guys. And we will get there together. Keep that in mind. We will get there together.
Looking for royalty-free music? Check out Epidemic Sound. Deliver cleared videos to your clients.
Comme adressé, Shamu, Isaac, Wu-Sabat.